Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 158. I don't know why my lights shut off on me when we were doing that, but that's fine. I am your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me tonight is Seyrr. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Yo.
Sorry for the little bit of a late start. We almost didn't have a start when we tried to go live the first time. Yeah, my upload was absolute horseshit. So,
yeah, keep an eye on that tonight. Hopefully it's being good now.
Yep, let us know if you notice any weird issues. Everything's looking green on my side, fortunately, so hopefully it's all looking good for you as well. But yeah, just give us that heads up. If it's too bad in the live show, hopefully the recording will be much better, because that's a little bit easier to pull all that down via audio. So we'll see how that goes. Seyrr, how have you been? It's been a month. I haven't seen you since last year.
But stuff has been kind of okay. I just started my full-time position at the library. Everything's closed down again, so I'm doing a bunch of work from home stuff. But it's not too bad so far.
But
I'm
hey,
going to be in charge of a coding program.
At least you get to do your work from home instead of being furloughed.
Yeah.
So that's a nice positive at this point.
Yeah. Mostly if it wasn't for the fact that I am learning how to do an entirely new thing, and so the imposter syndrome has crept in. If not for that, everything would be hunky-dory.
Oh yeah, by the way, for those of you who remember the last episode, if you can remember all the way back to last year, I had talked about...
Okay, you get 2 more of those and that's it.
I talked about, as Seyrr and I were wearing our Santa hats, or our Saint of Nymea hats, if you want to be, if we keep it in 14. I also mentioned my other winter hat. So for those of you watching live at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, or checking out the YouTube video or the Twitch VOD, you will see my really happy little sock monkey hat now.
I don't know how I feel about that hat.
Why? Isn't it cute?
It is cute, but it's also slightly unsettling, and I couldn't tell you why.
I think I'm going to do the rest of the podcast just like this, so you see just the sock monkey hat, and then I don't know how I'll be able to read the notes, though, but that won't work, I don't think, unfortunately.
Probably
not. Yeah, and it's probably going to get very warm, too, because this is a very, very warm hat, but I just wanted to make sure to show it off for those of you who might have been interested in seeing it. And now my hair's a mess. Oh, we're good. All right. So anyway, congratulations on the job and all of that. I hope it's been going well for you. It's just started this week, right?
Yep, this is the first week of it, so a fair bit of onboarding stuff, a little bit of learning about what I'm going to be doing. I'm specifically going to be in charge of our system's coding 5K program, so that's fun.
Oh, interesting. Well, hopefully all that goes well for you.
Yeah. It'll probably be fine, but there's absolutely some imposter syndrome happening already.
It'll get better. It has to.
It almost certainly will.
As far as me, I did stuff, I guess. Spent the last 2 weeks of 2021 either on call or working, over the New Year's holiday, because that's our busiest time of year. Didn't actually get to do much for the holidays, unfortunately, but I did get to go up and see family last weekend, which was kind of nice. So that was fun. What else?
Yeah, I didn't do much for holidays either, honestly.
Well, with everything going on, it was tough,
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to be safe, and you got to do the right thing for you, even if people in your family may not understand why or appreciate what you did. Hopefully, in the future, they'll understand. So,
yeah.
Otherwise, you know what?
Even if they don't, you did the right thing.
Exactly. No skin off my back anymore. Other than that, we did sign up for another year of Extra Life. So we're actually 2022. We will be supporting Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare again this year. Sarah, I was actually just thinking I should have mentioned this to you earlier while we were doing the pre-show stuff. Maybe this year you might want to start up your own, and then we can be Team Phoenix Down Radio, and as well as anybody out there who's interested in raising funds for a hospital in your area. We can start up teams, and we can all do a whole bunch of fundraising together, and just make it a good time.
I'm sure we got a lot of folks out there who'd love to join us for that. That sounds fun.
And if not, like I said, just support any support you can give to any team. Actually, is very helpful and important to make sure that those kids get the health care and support that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is our 6th year of doing Extra Life. That's crazy.
That's so weird.
It is super crazy. I think that's really all that really covers for us at this point. So let's jump into a month's worth of gaming community news. You remember when they announced that Chocobo GP game for the Switch that's going to be coming out in March?
Oh yeah, like it was kind of Chocobo racing adjacent.
Yep, it was basically like a Chocobo kart racer is what it ended up being.
That's the one. Adjacent is such a handy word for these things.
Square Enix announced that there's a free mobile app inspired by the upcoming kart racer. It's called Chocobo GP Dash. GP and then with a little, actually it's like almost like a
kind of an accent mark-ish thing.
Yeah, like the single quotation kind of thing. But it's read as Chocobo GP Dash. Players will need to navigate through wild and hectic stages to deliver treasure to the finish line. I downloaded that today, and it's actually kind of cute. It's just a simple little game. If you want to get your Chocobo Moogle fixes, because you got a little Moogle riding on the back of the Chocobo, and it's kind of cool. But makes me really want to play Chocobo GP. I will be getting that for the Switch because that's going to be a good time. Gotta have something other than Mario Kart, right? I mean, Mario Kart can only have so much of a dominant rule on the Switch racing scene.
Like you need something for people who don't necessarily want to do like the big car racing Forza Horizon or whatnot, but aren't necessarily feeling the Mario.
Yeah, and Chocobos are much cuter than Toads.
Yeah.
Toadstools, I should say. That's my go-to character in Mario Kart. Is Toad, but it is what it is. Yoshida did his New Year's greetings. I'm not going to read through all of this, but I did want to specify and read through his little poem that was left for him this year, as he's been doing for the past 10 years. Or has it only been 9? Whatever. Anyway, the poem this year goes as follows. So wanes the moon before the sun, its journey ended, home at last. So look we now to days ahead, unfettered from our trying past.
Yeah. They've talked a little bit before in various media events about the idea of the entire Hydaelyn Zodiac story being a sort of day that started out at sunrise with the new dawn from A Realm Reborn, continued through the day of Heavensward, the sunset of Stormblood, the night of Shadowbringers, and then Endwalker being the new dawn of it. And one of the things that they mentioned, of course, was that this would finishing this day with the new sunrise would be completing the cycle, and that New Year's poem seems to again emphasize that from this point the previous cycle has been completed and we're starting a completely new story.
Yep, which will start at patch 6.1. So look forward to that. I'm actually very anxious to see what type of storyline that the team brings us this time. So, and then next we have. If you want to get spoopy in the wintertime, the All Saints Wake starts on January 20th. Ooh. If you don't
I figured they'd...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I figured they'd kind of plumbed everything they could. It's like, okay, we've got vampires, we've got witches, all stuff like that. But they pulled something out of the creepy box.
Yeah. If you hate clowns, you may want to skip this one.
Yeah, full clown thing include like creepy circus clown at that, including actual face paint makeup for it.
It's super creepy. But yeah, we get a whole clown themed outfit, the clown makeup, and then some haunted pumpkin themed housing items. I'm sure the storyline is going to be cute, or like I said, if you hate clowns, it's going to be creepy AF. But they do.
That said, for the people who like glamours, I have been told from, I don't know how they know this, but apparently the clown hat can have the clown nose removed, giving you a top hat that could be worn by all classes. The code itself also has some neat design stuff on it, so for those who are just looking for some extra glamour pieces, seems like there might be some stuff there worth considering.
Like I said, and for the completionists and all of us, we're gonna get it anyway. So,
Creepy. Why?
and if you're listening to this live or in the next couple of days, you still have a couple of days left to finish up Heaven's Turn. We talked a little bit about that in the last episode, and it was not bad. The little Byakko fate was cute, and then if you do the repeatable quest, you hand out the mochi cakes to a bunch of people in Limsa. One of them being a giant bunny suited person who happens to be Byakko. Doesn't say as much, but well, it is.
Yeah, they've definitely had a bit more of that. They've continued to have the integration of, hey, for the people who are experienced, who haven't played for a while, hey, here's a reference to a quest. Here's a special dialogue option that you only get if your character is in the know.
Yeah. I suppose if you haven't done anything, gone that far in Stormblood, you probably won't see that option.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is nice to see those types of things. It's very, very enjoyable. And as usual, this quest will start outside of Maketo's amphitheater in Old Gridania. So go check it out on the 20th.
Oh,
now,
let's see.
There is a lot of news as far as Final Fantasy XIV servers and data centers goes. I will start with this bit of news here. We copy paste in the proper window. There we go. Yeah, so the game is going to be going back on sale on January 25th, and we have a whole bunch of new DC expansions. DC Center, that's a whole, yeah, anyway. So in response to congestion following Endwalker's release, they had postponed the launch of Data Center Travel System. It's now being planned for a 6.1x patch. So we'll be able to go between Primal, Aether, and Crystal on the NA side.
Pretty much you'll be able to move within data centers in your region.
Yep.
So it's still not 100% complete. I can't go and hop over to Oceania or the like, but it is, again, an expansion beyond what we had before.
Correct. And it's something that they're looking at potentially adding on in the future once they make sure that the current iteration is safe without any major issues.
Yeah. I mean, it's been an ongoing thing. They want to keep the ideal for an MMO is one server where everyone gets to play, but from a technical perspective, that is a goddamn nightmare. But they do keep trying to push towards that limit as much as they can.
Especially when you look at how popular Final Fantasy XIV has gotten in the last 12 months.
This isn't even the first time they've had to say, hey, we can't sell it for right now. First time was back in ARR.
Yeah, okay, so it's the third time.
Yep. It keeps happening.
Yep. So then they announced a number of data center expansions, starting with the Japanese data center. They're going to be adding a new logical DC. They're going to be basically going to expand it from having 10 and 11 servers per data center. They're just going to then split it out to 8 each.
Which also means higher capacity per world and should help a bit with all of those various login queues that we've been seeing. Because
they have so many worlds on so few data centers in comparison to what NA and EU have. They have not been able to put in those fixes that helped our login queues. So the Japanese players are still having some issues probably signing in at this point.
Yeah.
And this is all scheduled to take place in July.
Yeah, they're also planning further expansions for the North American and European data centers.
Yeah, NA is getting a fourth data center.
Oh, so we had Ether, Primal, and
Crystal.
Wonder what the fourth one will be there.
I'm not sure, but it's going to start with 4 new worlds in August of 2022, and then in the spring or summer of 2023, they're going to expand that to another 4 worlds, giving us 4 data centers of 8 servers each.
Yeah, similar expansions will be coming up for Europe as well.
Yep, in the EU, they're adding 2 new worlds per data center to up them from 6 to 8. And then in summer of 2023, they're getting their 3rd data center with 8 new worlds as well. So lots of expansion in the EU area. It's good to see. And then, like we said, the digital sales will begin on January 25th with Oceania DC opening up. But they are going to hold off on re-implementing the free trial at this point to make sure that the server stability is still okay.
Yeah, they definitely want to give priority to the actual playing players as much as possible.
100%. And then this next link that I'm putting in there is more information on the Oceania data center, which is opening up as well on the 25th. They are starting with 6 worlds, it looks like. Their data center is called Materia, and their worlds are named after the Heavensward trials. So we got Bismarck, Ravana, Sephiroth, Sophia, and Zervan. So no, 5, not 6. Sorry, I counted worlds as a server. So they get 5 to start with. But what's cool is if you want to transfer a character over to Oceania, it's going to be free to start with. So if you're interested in doing that, like if you have a spare character on another data center and you want to just move it over, maybe give that a try and see what it's like over there. Plus you get a few bonuses if you do that. So one of the bonuses, Chili, is 1 million gil. If it's limited 1 per server account, so if you've done that in the past on another character, you're not going to get another 1,000,000 gil, nor will you get another 15 days of free playtime. So, and if you transfer over and you own a house, you will also get some money back for that as well. Homeworld transfer service also resumes on the 25th in conjunction with all of this to allow people to transfer over to Oceania, which is kind of nice. And then this one I thought was a little bit soon, but I suppose it makes sense because it was delayed. But the Endwalker OST is releasing on February 23rd. I've already got my pre-order in. I don't know about you guys. So for $55, you can get yourself a Virtua minion, and then you get a free OST. Is that how that goes? But the OST includes Endwalker music video, recording of the Primal's performances at the Chinese Fan Fest in 2021, and a chiptune version of the Endwalker theme. And if you order early enough, you will get a chance to get one of the special case sleeves. They've done a really good job on those. So, I mean, if you have the opportunity to pre-order it, go ahead and do that. It's actually not a bad price on the EU store when I was clicking on the different locations. I think it's like 37 euros. Plus, you probably have to pay VAT, which is probably why it's so much lower. Otherwise, it's $54.99 in the North American store. And if you want to just save a little bit of money and don't have to have it right away, you can get it from CD Japan for about 5,500 yen, which is about $44 plus shipping. So yeah, give that a check out if you want to get or continue to expand your OST collection, which of course I have to. Got to have that OST. And the minion. I'm still salty about Bahamut though. Or no, the Dalamud, the wind-up Dalamud. I'm still really, really salty about that. Speaking of salty, Yoshida's telling toxic fans to be less rude to game devs. I don't know if you heard about this particular little kerfuffle. Seyrr.
Oh, no, I saw it.
Basically, there was an interview done by some, gosh, I don't remember who it was, but it was translated by Reddit, and basically saying that the delay led to some unwanted toxicity within the community. And this is the translated words from Yoshida. Ever since the unfortunate release delay of the expansion, for some reason there seems to be some haters of the game laying around and attacking other players despite not playing the game, and it was quite glaring. I felt as though strong words were used in arguments against people ended up holding people back because of this. But he also said that a number of people have also been taking out this poor attitude to the game developers as well. And while he says, quote, I can take it, even though it doesn't make it less bad, he said, but staff members will really feel down after getting those words when they gave their absolute best into trying to create something everyone can enjoy. And this may end up making them no longer create things that are fun from there on. So, you know what? Stop bullying the devs, guys. It wasn't their fault that they had to delay. They wanted to make sure that what they provided to all of us was the best possible experience. And from my perspective, it was amazing. So
yeah, I can't imagine any of our listeners actually doing that. So
I would hope not. But if anybody out there was, disparaging to that, let's see what you come up with for a game, and then see how people like that, and people yell at you for being late. Knock it off. Be nice. And then one last bit of news. This is Final Fantasy XVI information. A tweet from Yoshida reveals that the Final Fantasy XVI development has been delayed by almost 6 months due to COVID. I'll go ahead and link his tweet here. And what it says, greetings everyone. When we last spoke, I promised I would have more information on Final Fantasy XVI sometime later in 2021. However, I regret to inform you that I will be unable to keep that promise, as complications stemming from the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic have delayed the game's development by almost half a year. As the latest addition to the Final Fantasy series being developed for the PlayStation 5, Final Fantasy XVI has amassed a sizable team composed of talented creators from around the world. However, in an effort to offset the effects of COVID-19, we've had to decentralize that workforce by permitting staff to tackle their assignments from home. This has unfortunately hampered communication from the Tokyo office, which in turn has led to delays in, or in extreme cases, cancellations of asset deliveries from our outsourced partners. That said, we have spent much of 2021 addressing this issue and hope to see its impact to a minimum by the new year, allowing us to better focus on the tasks at hand, increasing graphic resource quality, refining combat mechanics, fleshing out individual battles, putting the finishing touches on cutscenes, and conducting overall graphical optimization. Our primary goal is now to be as hands-on with the game as possible in order to see it fully polished. So that leaves us with the question, when can we expect the next round of information? Well, I'm happy to announce that the current plan is to conduct our next big reveal in spring of 2022 as we seek to build excitement leading up to the game's eventual release. I deeply apologize to all those who have been looking forward to learning more about Final Fantasy XVI, and thank you for your continued patience while we focus our combined efforts on development. So yeah. You know what? It's okay. If they have to delay it to put out a high quality game, by all means, take the time. I see you have so much to say about that, Seyrr.
I mean, there's not really a lot to say. I mean, I guess I agree with you on that.
Well, it doesn't mean you can just sit there and go. You can use your big boy words. Chili saying we can potentially expect a playable demo around spring. I would hope so. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Demos are always tricky for developers. the stuff that you put into a demo, a lot of it often may not necessarily be usable in the final product, and time spent on that is time spent not improving other things. But at the same time, it's something that can be absolutely crucial in building that hype and building that excitement, in getting the leverage that lets you talk to your publisher or funders and say, hey, we want to keep this stuff going.
Yeah.
Hey, you should keep forking over this money. Look how much the people want it.
Exactly.
So they're tricky for devs.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, it'll probably not be spring. I would venture to guess that it would maybe be closer around the E3 timeframe potentially. We would maybe see some demos like that, similar to what they did with Stranger of Paradise. Hopefully better than Stranger of Paradise.
Speculate. At this point, especially given that we've started to have some close downs again, I would not even attempt to speculate on timeframes for anything anymore.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Well, let's look forward to when they're able to give us more information and relish in that. And when we hear more, we'll be telling you all about it. But now, I should probably preface this with where's my proper button here? Is this it right here?
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! There.
Okay, you gotta fix that recording, man.
It is what it is.
And what it is something that needs fixing. Come on.
Why does this need fixing? It sounds fine.
Maybe I could just do the entire show like this instead.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like an actual recording you had prepared and then just not trimmed. That makes more sense.
No, it was me actually doing it live.
That's how we roll here, apparently.
Because if I had done something, it would have included like the...
Yeah, it's like, that needs some klaxons.
Yeah. We'll have to create a spoiler alert button. How's that sound?
That actually sounds like a terrible idea. Let's not do that.
So let's totally do it. Anyway, spoiler alert. We will be talking about Endwalker spoilers. Today we're going to discuss from Old Charlayan to the moon, basically.
Up to through the first trial.
Yep, at that point. So if you have not completed that part, or you don't want to listen to any spoilers, come check us out later when you've completed that or are ready to listen. Otherwise,
pause this, go play the game, keep it paused, don't listen to anything else, and then once you finish, just come on back. That's reasonable, right?
Yeah, you should finish in what, 3, 4, 5 days? No, it's not that long. It depends on how much you play, I guess.
This is definitely the irrelevant part that we want to focus on right now.
Exactly. Anyway, let's get into it. Endwalker starts on a boat, kind of. Well, we actually started.
We got on the boat pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we go to the Rising Stones. We talk about what the plan is, and we all meet in Limsa and get on a boat.
I mean, if this wasn't an MMORPG where we'd had a previous stage and it was just like, okay, we're starting this chapter as a new game, it would just start on the boat.
You're
or
right.
Possibly on the docks, but...
Yeah, 100%. So,
now,
go ahead.
So we do, of course, have the voyage to Old Charlayan. One of the things that I really, really loved about that sequence... 1.0 players may recognize it. That opening, that cinematic of the voyage where it's sweeping over the below decks lounge. You have all the various people chatting, a lot of them wearing what looks like old style armor from earlier in the game. That is a shot for shot recreation of the opening scenes for the Limsa Lominsa story path from 1.0. Like 100% recreation there, which I just really loved, partly for the, hey, nostalgic blast from the past, and also as a, hey, this is kind of the culmination of this journey, so let's have a little reminder of how this journey all began, how it all really began, way, way back in the mists of the game that got meteored from the heavens.
RIP. I didn't play the Limsa side of it, so I did not recognize that.
Yeah, no, shot for shot down to the outfits everyone's wearing and everything. It was impressive.
Just less polygons, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, in the current engine. And again, to set the stage with that, this time instead of we do hear actually yeah, we did hear once again hear the voice of Heidelin tell us to hear, feel, and think, but in this case it was because an apparition of her was waiting on deck to talk with us and to give us some cryptic advice for what we would need to do in the coming days.
Yeah, I mean, they had mentioned before the expansion started that there would be this Lady of Light. I guess a lot of people had surmised it was going to be Heidelin, but I didn't realize it was going to be coming so soon.
We had also seen it in a patch, and again it was assumed, but I believe that scene was the first time where she was referred to as such by name in the game, where the dialogue box explicitly says Heidelin.
All right, 1 second, Sarah. I'm hearing some roboting on your end, so I'm gonna do a quick switch of the server in here real quick. So give me 2 seconds.
Right on.
All right, it looks like we're back up. Let's see how that works.
All right. So yeah, after that callback, that voyage, we do arrive in Old Charlayan. Gorgeous harbor, a lot of kind of ancient Greek inspired, lots of marble, giant statues.
Don't forget the line to actually get into Old Charlayan.
Oh yeah, customs in Charlayan is strict.
There were some choice words being said to all the scions.
Yeah, I mean, in part because we are ostensibly there as part of the students of Valdesian to help with their rebuilding effort.
Oh, yes,
Kryle and Graha being actual legitimate members, and then the rest of us being various associates, and in our case, hey, adventurer, there to help out with random stuff.
And then bodyguard.
Oh,
that
yes.
Estinian bit. He was having trouble trying to come up with what his role was, and if it hadn't been for Kryle, I think he would have been thrown on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, of our companions, everyone except for ourselves and Estinian originates from Charlayan in some way or another, and we're just kind of the person who can go everywhere. I think word of our exploits had reached even to Charlayan, even if people didn't always recognize us or had varying opinions about us.
Oh, I'm sure they know exactly who and what we did.
But yeah, and that actually is one of the things that sets the tone, where we're arriving at the one nation that knows of us and maybe doesn't necessarily like us as much, because we know that Charlayan has been keeping their own counsel, does seem to have their own plans afoot, and now we've arrived on their shores to start poking into their business.
As one does.
The story takes the traditional start of the expansion split into two separate storylines to give us a little bit of the lay of land of what we have, what various zones we have, and what's going on in them. Where we go? The Old Charlayan portion involves exploration of the storage and research facility Labyrinthos, a giant cavern underneath of Charlayan that has been started as a simple storage facility and has grown into a complete underground bunker with artificial sunlight and weather, natural environments for various live specimens to be kept in, humidifiers to adjust moisture levels, farm areas. Still plenty of repositories for documents and the like, but this is an archive that has started taking a lot of liberties with what types of materials it includes. I don't usually see archives that have that many living specimens in them.
Yeah, it's like a part library, part petting zoo, part
yeah, and it's one of those things
lab, I don't know.
That seems to first show that Charlayan commitment to learning, to research, saying, hey, it's not just enough to have a picture of this particular creature. We are going to keep several breeding pairs down below so that we can go and take measurements and do all this other stuff on them.
Yeah. Measurements.
So I mean, it starts that way, but as we're attempting to investigate and getting blockaded at every turn, there's noticed that the gleaners, effectively research assistants who are sent out all over the world to procure specimens, seem to have a lot more activity going than they previously had. There's a lot more stuff being stowed away in Labyrinthos.
Yeah, they are definitely doing a lot. And as Chili said, yes, I'm hearing the robot voice again.
Oh dear.
So not sure. We're gonna do what we can to get through this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the server was switched over to West Coast, so it should actually be favoring Seyrr. So
Might just be something with your connection with your ISP again. I don't know that there's a lot that can be done.
That hasn't changed. Again, 0 drop frames, 6,000 KB, and I actually have a ping of 60 milliseconds to Discord.
At any rate,
so sorry.
No worries. As we're exploring, we do get another cryptic message from Heidelin, this time having commandeered Kryle's body, who directs us to a flower that we find reacts to ambient emotions. Currently a nondescript white, we're told that it reflects the anxiety and busyness of the people who are bustling about in Labyrinthos. And so we, of course, take that with us to act as a key item for future whatnots.
Of course.
And as we continue to investigate what might be afoot with the studium, we are eventually caught eavesdropping and put on trial by them.
Before you go that far, don't forget the best line in that section. The whole reason that they had us turned into toads, so they could refer to Alphino as Alpha Toad.
It was definitely an entertaining sequence, the eavesdropping. Yeah, they have made a lot of use of the various sequences that have some character or another following you around. This was the feature, of course, that was new for the expansion, and they have been having a lot of fun with it.
What before we get too far, what are your thoughts overall on that whole follow system?
So I rather like it myself. When we were being introduced to Charlene, rather than having, okay, the NPC moves ahead to this other spot and waits for us there and all that, this felt a little more like what it would actually be like to tour around, especially once you had the option of, hey, there will be optional areas that you can go to and they'll remark on other things that they see. It really made it feel a lot more like an organic exploration experience.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. I think they did go a little too far.
Well, I'll also note that as part of that system, you can't mount up, you can't take teleporters and like, which again, as someone who enjoys the slow path from time to time, I really actually appreciated that.
Yep, it forces a slowdown of the entire player base and makes you just walk through it and take a little bit of a time and actually look around.
Which again, the whole, hey, like, if I'm actually showing someone around my hometown and it's like, okay, now let's head over here, and then they hop on their chocobo and race ahead to the next thing, it's gonna be like, what the hell, man? Come on, just walk. I want to show you some really pretty stuff that's on the way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get that it's not as much for necessary player convenience for people who
don't
want
care
to go
about
through
story.
things. Or just want to go through things as fast as possible because they're excited about it, which I can't fault them for that. I can't fault people being excited. But as a system in general, I felt like it gave a much more true to life feeling that I really appreciated.
Now,
I see that Chili in the chat is not as much of a fan of it, though still prefers it to some of the other systems they had later on.
The systems they had later on that were kind of based off of this were the ones like where you had to follow somebody without being seen. Those I was less a fan of.
I've never minded that type of thing, but I also know I'm a minority in this regard.
There were a couple of times when they made it just absolutely evilly, difficult in certain ways to not get caught, and you basically have to start over from the beginning.
It's like you've never stalked anyone before.
I haven't.
I also definitely have never stalked anyone.
Sure. Anyway, like I said, it was an interesting mechanic. Like I said, maybe slightly overused, but that's what they like to do. They like to take these new mechanics that they bring in and they just throw it wherever they think they can. I mean, if you think back to Stormblood, they did the same thing with the zoom in missions.
Blowguns, yes.
And the blowguns
Okay,
and
we
stuff
have
like
a
that.
new toy. We want to use it. And it kind of makes sense. In the one that it's introduced, it's like, okay, we've developed this new thing. Since it hasn't existed before, this is the only point where it appears. So to put it through its paces, we're going to have to use it a lot.
Yep. But it's nice that they have used it in further expansions as well, but they didn't overuse it at that point. So.
Oh, but yeah, especially as someone who doesn't mind going a little slower and likes exploring for that extra stuff, having the, hey, here are bonus areas where you can get a little more discussion from them, while again having that slightly more organic feeling to it.
Yep.
I really, really liked that.
All right, getting back to going on trial.
Yes. So after having been caught eavesdropping, we are taken by the studium, put on trial. As part of that trial, we do find out that the studium is bound by what is described as a momentous duty, one that they cannot ignore, but also that they cannot or will not tell us anything about.
It's not that they don't want to; it's they can't. Because of magic.
Yeah, they'll get into the details of that a bit later, but one of the things we do find out later on is that they've been magically bound so that none of them can speak about it even if they wanted to. Though you get the impression fairly quickly that they're fine with this state of affairs. I would imagine that's more for like a situation like if someone were to capture and try to extract the information from them, they just wouldn't have access to it.
Yeah, or but it makes people kind of think that there's something nefarious going on.
Yeah. There is something that they call, as I said, a momentous duty, that they cannot ignore. Something incredibly important, but also that they cannot reveal any details about. And that also able to work out that this somehow relates to the Ethereal Sea. Beyond that, we don't have any information, and the studio makes it clear that we are being allowed to remain in Charlayan at their pleasure, and any further attempts to investigate this state secret will end our sojourn there. So, fun little bit there. Again, confirming and expanding on that Charlayan knows something about what's going on. They know something that we don't, and that they absolutely cannot tell us, but that this goes deeper than we expected. We'd gotten glimmerings of that back when we first actually met Forchanal, when he brought Charlayan's response to the Lotus Stand, but here we're getting a lot more about that.
Yep. All right. Second half of the beginning quests brings us to Thavnair, or finding a way to get to Thavnair. So the Charlayans have been working on trying to make world travel simpler. Normally, with an aetherite, in order for you to be able to utilize it, you have to attune to it. So you have to physically be in front of the said device, attune to it. At that point, you can then use it as a destination, or whatever.
So it's really great for going somewhere that you've been before.
But if you want to go somewhere else that you haven't been, it's a little bit more difficult.
You still have to make that overland adventure. Imagine if anytime you wanted to take an airplane across the country, it had to be to an airport that you'd first visited going on train or by car.
Mm-hmm. That would suck.
Not just, okay, you have to have made it that distance, but you have to have visited that specific airport.
And attuned to it.
I mean, well, yes. That's included in this metaphor here.
Okay.
And suddenly, something like an airplane becomes a much less convenient thing. For people who are already traveling around, sure, but if it's, oh, hey, this is your first time for this thing, we want to fly you out to this, okay, now it's... For all sorts of reasons, while it is a great convenience, it's not as convenient as it could be, and Charlane's never content to leave the frontiers of knowledge where they are.
So their aetherological team has been working on a way to send you to a place you've never been. So they created this experimental aetherite that is linked to an aetherite over in Thavnair. So being that us and Urianger and Thancred have not been there, we end up having to take that port while Estinian, who has been to Thavnair, goes there the normal way.
Yeah.
So we end up meeting up with him after we teleport through, and as we're in the middle of teleporting, they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're gonna get super sick from aetherite poisoning. Bye." Yeah.
Why do they never tell you the fine print beforehand?
Who's gonna do it?
Thavnair chapter starts with a bit of a comedic scene just to set the tone and provide a nice bit of comic relief against what we'll be dealing with later, where the rest of us stumble around sick as dogs from ether sickness, Estinian himself feeling just fine and promising to go get us some restorative drinks, getting a reminder that, oh hey, Estinian is even worse with money than Alphino.
If you thought that was impossible, it's not.
Yeah. But yeah, a couple comedic sequences through all that, and we're eventually introduced to Thavnair, the Near Eastern island nation, very reminiscent of India in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Very bright colors, very nice. It was good.
Very tall tempering tower off their shoreline. Wait, what?
What? That's not right.
Thavnair, of course, is with its central location among the continents, easy access to shipping lanes to the sea, is a major hub of trade. But with that tempering tower out in the harbor, it's stopped the ability of ships to come through. Goods are rotting in the storehouses. The entire nation is really beginning to struggle.
Yeah, they're really suffering from some major economic depression at this point, and it's affecting everybody. And it's. So we go through some of the quests, try and teach us a little bit about that. But the big quest that we end up getting to is we learn about. We were sent here to go meet with somebody who has been working on some very interesting, what's the word I want here?
Protective measures.
Yep, they've been theorizing that they can, block the tempering similar to the way that the Echo protects us by using, special... Dang it. 1 second.
While you take care of that,
okay, we're back.
Thavnair, of course, also being the home of. Oh dear.
That's why you don't talk about that when you're doing a podcast. All right.
Anyways, Thavnair being, of course, the home of alchemy. We've had Thavnarian alchemists and alchemical products figure in a lot of our quests before, including a lot of those relic weapon quests. And now we get to visit the alchemists themselves as they're pushing out the frontiers of their art again, this time to try to create something that can act as a ward against tempering, much like the Echo protects us. The effort in this case is being supported in part with scales taken from a great worm, Vertra, who acts as sort of a protector of the island and a guardian that the island's ruler, the satrap, consults with and prays to from time to time. And in this case is providing large amounts of its own scales to be used as to be fashioned into experimental talismans. Some really funny little scenes at the Great Work where we see alchemists all keeled over, seemingly dead, up until the moment where the supplies arrive, where they start standing up and getting to work. Like, if you've ever known, like, the type of thing where And people are working nonstop, putting in 168-hour weeks, up until they all just kind of drop and take a nap wherever they are.
That's
just to start up again as soon as the coffee shows up. That's kind of the feeling you get from the alchemists of Thavnair, wholly devoted to their craft, really pushing the bounds of this esoteric stuff, often without a lot of concern for their own personal health. It was oddly endearing.
I was, before that part was, made abundantly clear that was what they were going at, I was concerned that there was something really bad going on, that, the Telephoroi had ended up, getting there and killing them. And I think that's what they were trying to have us think to start with.
I live in the Silicon Valley region. I suspected from the start. You see enough people destroy themselves in a programming fugue state, you start to be like, okay, this is where we have the work-life balance talk.
See, this is why crunch time is bad, okay?
Don't do that to yourself, people. Get sleep.
Also, when they discovered that Estinian had worm blood in him.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
Given the amount that they were doing with dragon scales already.
Yeah, he had a few pints drained from him, I'm sure.
And a lot of questions and prodding and whatnot.
Lots of prodding.
But yeah, we do end up doing a bit more further exploration of Thavnair, learn about some of the various regions of the island, a little bit about its history, its culture, its religion. All of this culminating in the development of what the lead alchemist on the project, Nidana, thinks may be a successful protection against tempering, a little talisman that they call the warding scale. And so, being an excellent scientist, she resolves that this needs to be tested. And she's not going to ask anyone else to suggest. There's only one way you can reasonably test something like that, which is to take it to a thing, see if they get tempered. And she certainly can't ask anyone else to do this. Like, she's really a fantastic scientist, out to the ethics of it. Which is how we find ourselves on a boat with Nidana slowly rowing out towards the Tower of Zot. Oh, that entire sequence. I was like, this is such a stupid idea, but also, oh my god, you are really devoted to doing proper science here, and I kind of love you for it.
It was definitely an interesting thing up until the point where she walks up to the door of the tower and, well...
Still not tempered. Still not tempered.
Not tempered, but...
I mean, okay, the door's open and... Was it chains, I believe?
Yeah.
Like, chains snake out and drag her in. We follow in to find her being yanked into one of the tower's support columns, being made into one of the captured people that's going to be used to power its summoning of various primals.
One of the thralls.
And, yeah, one of the thralls, along with Fandaniel, who I think this is the first time we've... is this actually the first time we've met him in it? Like, we the players have seen him before, but I think that was actually the first time that the Warrior of Light had seen him.
No, we had met him at with
right. No, right. All the stuff.
Yeah, we met him at the end of Shadowbringers as well.
Right. Why did I forget about? But so talks to us a little bit, talks about his plans, drops some interesting tidbits about his own personal past.
And yeah, says that, oh yeah, this design looks familiar, talking about the warding scale and how basically it was very similar to something that was created back in the Allegan Empire.
Yeah, this is the point where we find out that we've known before that the unsundered Ascians were able to take fragments of their sundered compatriots and kind of elevate them up to their original office, provide them with the memories that they had lost, sort of restore them to that. And we find that Fandaniel was one of those, that one of his shards had once been the Allegan technologist Amon.
I mean, were you expecting that?
That was a complete surprise to me.
100%.
Yeah. As they explain, a couple of the details that they gave put a lot of stuff into perspective, especially when he talked about how the restoration process hadn't seemed to take, that the memories had been dumped into his head, but that he'd never really felt like they were him. They'd never accepted that as him. And so it's like he's got the memories of someone else's life in there, but it's still someone else to him. He still sees himself as Amon.
Which is weird, but...
Yeah, and Amon has a lot of opinions about what people should be striving for, about how terrible and corrupt and empty the world is, and how much of it needs to be all torn down. So yeah, I remember there had been the whole like, okay, like he's just some kind of nihilistic whatever, like Kefka. And it's like, okay, it turns out that, yeah, he wants to sort of, but not at all for the same reason. He saw his beloved empire crumbling to pieces, and then gets told, oh hey, you're part of this ancient thing. And not a fan, but what else was there for him there?
Well, plus the fact that, you know, with what's the emperor's Xandi, basically he ended up pushing for a lot of what the Allagans ended up doing against what Amon actually wanted to see. And I think that's what really broke him.
Yeah, we got lots of little glimpses of life in the Allagan Empire, how dissatisfied Amon had been with it. So yeah, like all the various hinting about Fandaniel, I don't think any of us were prepared for this.
No, it was definitely a shock. Things make a little bit of sense, but
yeah,
it was definitely an interesting story twist.
Yeah. This is one that gets a lot more expansion and development as we go on, and ends up being a key part of the overall plot of things.
Yep.
But for the moment, he's the asshole who just locked up our Matanga friend in the tower and started using her as a summoning battery.
Yeah, which we're not going to stand for. So we go back to everybody else in Charlayan and we say, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, well, we better go do something about that.
This is the point where those two storylines rejoin, where the exploration of Old Charlayan and the exploration of Thavnir come back together with strange goings-on in Charlayan and with a crisis as the lead researcher on the anti-temperance solution has been captured.
So, of course, we're going to go save him.
Yeah,
so we devise a plan.
What we do.
We enter the Tower of Zot. And we go through and we fight through a hellscape, basically. It's kind of creepy for the first dungeon in an expansion.
Yeah. Lots of tempered Garleans throughout, Imperial Magitech, strange shadowy creatures, and all the way through encounters with 3 of the Thavnarian deities. I really they had something that's kind of going again with like a lot of the traditional Hindu stuff, where you had these deities with the bodies of humans and the heads of animals, and in this case, this is where we got to see the Magus sisters reimagined here.
And I thought at that part, I enjoyed the fights because we fought first one, then another one, and then all 3 at the end.
Yeah. First Mindy, then Sandy, and then Cindy, with Mindy and Sandy joining in. For those of you who remember Final Fantasy IV, the mechanics that were being used for each of the sisters did have lots of callbacks to it. Mindy using lots of elemental magic attacks, Sandy using lots of status effect type things, Berserk, Stop, Confuse. And then Cindy leading them in the signature Delta attack.
Yep. Which
in this case involved a reflect spell that Mindy bounced her elemental spell off of to create a chaotic storm of elemental energy all around the battlefield. So really fun reimagine. I wondered how, it wasn't your standard thing of like, okay, person standing there, okay, they bounce reflecting and it hits your line. I did wonder how they were going to handle that, and having it turn into, well, this is just something that scatters the elemental energy all over the place was a really fun way to do it.
Yep, and then the fact that the other sisters will be raised if you don't kill them in a specific order, like Chili's mentioning in the chat.
Yep. Yeah. Cindy is, and you see her in the fight. She's casting glare a lot. One of the moves that she uses looks a lot like the white mage, Asize. She is clearly the white mage of the group, and she will revive others if she's not the first one killed.
1 second. I'm going to attempt to make this changing because you're getting even more robot-y than normal. So 2 seconds. All right. Let's try this again. Take 3.
So yeah, for the Final Fantasy IV veterans there, lots of really fun touches there. Stuff that, again, if you're going back to that old JRPG style of like everyone lined up on one side, enemies on the other, a lot of those mechanics and a lot of the way those bosses worked, I wasn't quite sure how you could really adapt that to the MMORPG setting, but I felt like they really made it work, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, this was interesting. Definitely a good way to bring in, a mixture of the old, Final Fantasy IV Mega Sisters, while making them fit within the new story of Final Fantasy XIV. So they do a really good job of making this a theme park for us.
Oh yeah.
And then the whole thing when we end up just defeating the Mega Sisters, and then we destroy the core up at the top and find an arm.
We didn't actually find it. It was something that Ishtola detected was in there with her ether sight.
Yeah, that's right. But I thought there was. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah. But then once that core's been destroyed, the tower basically starts to disappear. It starts to crumble.
Oh, that was a load-bearing boss.
And then.
Yeah,
Graha.
Yeah, pulls off a really amazing rescue there. I do wonder if part of that was just because like the original Tower of Zot also collapsed when you defeated the boss there. So I wonder how much of that was hey, we're going to replicate this classic thing of, oh, hey, this thing is destroyed once you defeat the boss from it.
And I love the story that they came up with, how he was able to save us by casting that gravity spell to catch everybody. And oh yeah, I just came across that and needed it while I was trying to find stuff in the forbidden section of the library back in Charlayan.
Because he's too short to reach the taller cells.
Too short to reach.
that is like a very magician's answer to that. Okay, I'll just develop a levitation spell.
I thought that was cute.
Also a little bit of a moment for Graha to be a hero himself, which I appreciated.
Yes. I mean, because he basically had lost all of his power after, being the Exarch and drawing
he's
all
not
this
sexy crystal dad anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't have a giant crystal tower to pull unlimited ether from, so.
Right.
But the fact that he was able to pull this off was pretty damn cool.
Yeah. And I think going a bit to showing that what's special about him is not necessarily the access to all that power, it's the having a lot of knowledge and a lot of creative ideas about ways to use it.
Yeah, exactly. So we beat the sisters, the tower disappears, and all of the tempered Matanga that were in there, I think at that point they are...
Matanga, humans, everyone, like pretty much it was okay, we're going to start taking them for treatment because, hey, we've still got that cure for tempering.
Yep. And they're all kind of really drained of a lot of ether, so a lot of them are actually unconscious still, and it takes a while for them to actually get the treatment done. Fortunately,
this is another thing I just wanted to mention really fast, that another thing about the expansion that, again, could have seen coming but ended up surprising me in terms of like just how much things have changed. The Magus sisters and Anima were previewed, like in a lot of the previous stuff, is like, these are the primals you'll be fighting. And it turns out like, yeah, those are the primals we fight. But we didn't fight them in trials.
No, they were primals fought in a dungeon.
Yeah, they were just like dungeon bosses. So I really appreciated just realizing that, for that, how much it was okay, they were still dripping us information, but taking advantage of a lot of the expectations that we had to start doing tricky stuff so that we could still be surprised.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought that the Magus Sisters was going to be a trial.
Yeah, like, okay, you climb the Tower of Zot, you fight the bosses there, and then there's like a trial afterwards where you fight the Magus Sisters or something. And it's like, nope, the terms of the engagement have changed enough. Your buddies can help out now. They can be protected from the Echo. We could do this as a dungeon now. Big surprise there.
Yeah. So then once, getting back to after everything disappeared and we get everybody into treatment, our friend Nitana was one of the first ones to get treated and comes to see us as we are invited to go see the satrap in Rad's at Hand. So we get brought in there, and isn't that about that point?
The meeting of the satrap actually happened much earlier. It was during the Thavnair leg of things.
You're right. Okay, but we're invited back there again. They thank us for that. And is that when we learn about Virtua?
We learned it from the very beginning. Estinian knew it right off.
You're right. It's been so long since I played it, trying to remember exactly when everything happens.
And I mean, the biggest thing I can say is, like, actually, yeah, during that first Thavnarian leg, we got the revelation that actually the ruler of Thavnair is not the satrap. It is, in fact, the Great Worm Virtua that was posing as this is like the island's protector, the one who occasionally provides life. Like, nope, he's the one who's running things.
Yep, and the satrap is actually just a front, a ruse.
A human mouthpiece.
And the fact that the little boy, the little child, what are they called?
Yeah.
Ra, is actually a doll with an eye of Virtua in it.
Yeah, there is a young Ra boy who's acting as a representative of the satrap, who goes kind of is like supposed to be his eyes out on the ground. Turns out to be in a very literal sense. I have to say, I really appreciated that. In so many things you see, like, oh, I am a powerful dragon, and I can transform into a beautiful human, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, no, he can't transform. He's still a big old dragon. But he's got a puppet. He'll send the puppet out. It's like, oh, that's adorable. I just kind of appreciate that they, for once, did not go that route, because that's so common with so many things, where you have, like, this big, powerful dragon ruler that's like, oh, they disguise themselves. No, he can't disguise himself. That's not happening. But yeah, so that was actually something that happened during the first visit, because Estinian right away could sense him and recognize that something was up.
But then we do end up going back to Rad's at Hand, and then we do meet up with Nadana. That part was true.
Yes.
And she's very happy to learn that her warding scales were very, very helpful in liberating all of them.
Yeah, and not just that, but they've gone into greater production and are going to be distributed to the Allied forces to help in removing the influence of the towers from all across the three great continents. This is not just, oh, hey, she was able to solve this thing. This is all that hard work, all of those sleepless nights, being captured and dragged into the tower. Like, there's a beautiful moment where she's just like practically sobbing, saying it was all worth it.
And then our flower buzzes in our pocket, and we pull it out, and it's now yellow.
Yeah, glowing with that overwhelming joy that Nidana is feeling. This is something that she actually takes note of, and as we're telling her a little bit about this flower that can apparently react to emotions, she tells us a little bit about a lesser-known Thavnarian alchemy theory about a force called Akasha that is not well understood, seems to be a force, substance, whatever, that is distinct from aether. Unusual because most of our theories, most of our ethological study suggests that everything has aether as a basis. And she is telling us that this one is a separate force that seems to be influenced by emotions. Beyond that, it's not really well understood because if you have that little about it, you can't necessarily do experiments with it. But that this seems to be perhaps something that has some connection to that can be influenced by emotions and feelings. This, of course, will never come up again.
Never, ever, 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 ever. We're lying.
Yes, that was implied.
Well, just for those who can't tell that we were just teasing them. Come on. Covering all of our bases.
Subtlety, thy name is not Klauss.
No. Anyway.
So, moving on to more practical applications, although the original plan had been to use the warding scales to make forays into the other towers that had appeared and dismantle them in a similar manner, Y'shtola notes that this kind of protection against tempering could also be useful if we wanted to end around all that and go straight to attacking Garlemald. Which, audacious, surprising, very on brand for Y'shtola.
And of course we do it.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
the reason we go about that is it's been determined that if we can take them all out at once if we take out the main source. Yeah. Which is in Garlemald. I believe they were able to aetherologically determine that things were being drawn from one area and traveling towards
the various towers had been extracting ether, and a lot of that went to creating their summoned lunar primals. But the amounts of ether they were drawing was more than was needed for that. So there was extra that seemed to be siphoned out just beyond what was needed for the actual tower's operations. And that seemed to be going to Garlemald, suggesting that there's some kind of central controller there that if you can take care of it, takes out the entire system.
Yep, so why take them all out individually when you could just take out the center and watch it all fall down? Like a house of cards.
So yeah, much faster than I expected. We're heading back to Charlayan to rest up for a bit, while several of our compatriots go to spread the word to the various leaders of the world, and to put together a plan for a multinational invasions. But
liberation party.
Yeah, I'm unclear what word we want for it, but the plan to go ahead and take the fight directly to Garlemald.
But before we do that, we have to order Grubhub from Starbucks.
Endwalker does do something similar to what Shadowbringers did, where you have kind of chapters of the story that are punctuated by a return to the quarters where you'll spend some time reflecting, maybe talk with some important NPCs or explore a little what's going on. And in this case, it takes the form of a late night visit from Graha, Kryl, and the twins with scads of food brought in from the only decent restaurant in Charlayan, and a really lovely late night meal shared between us.
Did you notice that the basket of sandwiches was there too?
Oh, Graha, that basket of sandwiches.
But I will say,
Alice
burgers
sneaking her
and pizza, they looked really cool in game.
Yeah, I think everyone chuckled a little bit at Alice sneaking her unwanted pickles onto Graha's plate.
That was pretty funny. Why not just order without pickles then? God. Never understood
you don't want them to think that you're weird and picky.
But they already know she's totally weird and picky.
Wow, Klaus. Wow.
Well, so
anyways,
we have our meal, and I think at that point, doesn't the flower change to another color in the background?
I think it does. Yeah, that sounds right. Because we have that bright yellow. We do have a couple different other colors. But yes, that moment shared between friends, just relaxing, enjoy each other's company, goofing around. Yeah, where that yellow was that overwhelming joy, that green I think was more of just like a kind of relaxed companionship.
Contentment, you know.
Yeah, contentment's a good word for it. In the midst of everything else that's happening, here's this moment of contentment.
And yeah, just before we fly into
Hey, we get to end the chapter with a moment of contentment.
Okay.
That's how this works. That's the deal.
and then we fly into Garlemald.
Technically, we fly to Alamigo first because that's where they're staging all this stuff.
Yep, and then we do the stuff and things.
Yeah. Where we had, not for the first time this expansion, but where a bunch of disparate groups all come together, people that we've worked with all throughout, and we get a chance to talk and check in with them, all the various forces, Gridanian, Limson, Lominson, I mean, all these different ones. And for so many of these scenes, it ends up changing a bit based on what quests you've done, what people you've met. Really something that kind of lets you reflect on and enjoy a bit of all the different people you've met and all the things that you've done through your journey here.
So then also, I'm assuming then by that, with you saying, depending on what quests you've done, the next part about this where a number of beast tribes come in to offer their assistance as well.
Huh.
Maybe if you hadn't done the beast tribe quest, they wouldn't show up?
That I do not know because I did all of them.
Same.
So, like, I had everyone maxed, so I was just like, okay, just all the tribes showed up. We got everyone. Now
Hey,
I kind of want
Chili,
to go
you
over...
didn't do all those quests. Did they show up for you? I'm just curious, you know, because a lot of the dependence on that.
Chili also commented about how science-based Charlene is, they probably refuse to remove the pickle because it breaks the taste balance they think it has, which is technically accurate. Pickles add a little bit of acidity that acts as a counterpoint to the heavy oils and fat from the burger. This is a legit point.
No, he is correct, but still.
Anyways,
he said he had a lot of them turn up, so
okay,
maybe it wasn't the same.
Yeah, but I know, for instance, the Uldan contingent included the characters from the Pugilist quests.
Yeah, there was a lot of throwbacks in this, and it was kind of neat to see.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't sparing anybody. Anybody who wanted to come help was basically invited to come help because they needed all the help we could get.
This is a time for heroes or something like that. And so with that, what we're forming what ends up being referred to as the Ilsa contingent. Kind of elite forces from all of the different nations banded together into a single fighting force whose goal is to punch up into Garlemald and go for a direct assault on its heart. Remove the leadership, liberate the people, all that fun stuff. And it's brutal.
What did you think of that the role-playing instance with Thancred?
Yeah, so we have a number of role-playing instances. As Klauss said, there's the one starting with Thancred as an infiltration in order to take out their the Magitech forces that would otherwise be decimating our lead troops.
Metal Gear.
It was very much a Metal Gear-ish type thing.
I think somebody was playing Metal Gear when they were thinking up that particular quest. So
I mean,
Thancred is basically kind of like the Final Fantasy version of Snake.
I mean, it's been pointed out, like, I was talking with someone about it who hadn't realized it, and then it was until recent stuff had happened. He's got his Archon mark. He has a PhD in being a spy. Like, he is good enough at being a spy that they gave him a doctorate in it.
Thancred! Thancred!
So yeah, like goofy flirt and all that he may portray himself as, his skills are good enough to earn him a goddamn PhD in espionage.
And sneakology.
Yes, that is, of course, the formal term, sneakology. Well done. but yeah, and yeah, lots of role-playing sequences throughout. We do, of course, have the sequence with Thancred, disabling the Magitech reinforcements.
Which then goes up the road, and we have the fight where we have to, basically catch up to the Vanguard, and because they're being ambushed.
Yeah, we are progressing through Magna Glacius, which another name that I appreciated as a unexpected Final Fantasy throwback. Magna Glacius being a Latinized version of Great Glacier, of course. But yeah, protecting supply caravans that will be bringing the things that we'll need to actually establish and hold a position in the frozen wasteland of Garlemald. The Warrior of Light, of course, in fine form, defending the various carriages, inspiring others and leading them on to victory as well. Really fun set piece all around. Mm-hmm. Lots going on there.
And until we basically, like I said, we end up getting attacked in the rear guard, so that's where we're at. So then we fight all that off, but we discover that there's more stuff going on at the Vanguard, so we catch up to the front and we take all that.
We're kind of just going everywhere depending on what's needed. That's what we do as a Warrior of Light.
It is, and then
But yeah, really fun set piece all around.
And then we finally make our way to what we end up calling Camp Broken Glass.
Name that. Named because of the crunch of ice on the frozen ground underfoot made one of the commanders think of broken glass.
Yep. Yeah, why not? Go for it. Simple, it's easy. Let's do it.
Yeah, abandoned village now turned into a forward base for the Ilsa contingent. And that becomes the base from which we start exploring to try to get a bit more of the picture of what's going on in Garlemald. Of course, it's been famously sealed off to the world at large for such a long time. And what we find is a nation on the brink. Tempered citizens everywhere. Those who aren't are still massively distrustful of the savages from outside lands. Like, you don't need to be tempered to have the propaganda work on you. And we have several civilians choose death over going along with us.
Yeah, this is when the game starts getting really dark.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a quest that involves us trying to find and save a girl that we see. And
yeah, because we'd found several younger folks who were holed up in, I think it was like an orphanage or something, or like, yeah, I think it had been an orphanage or a manor or something like that.
And we discovered that rather than, coming back with us, they would rather just run off and try and do their own thing, and they end up getting in trouble.
In a frozen landscape where the weather has a decent chance of killing you at any time before you get to all the monsters across it, and they still find that preferable to going with us.
And we're too late. We don't save the children.
Yeah. Yeah, like, no, there are actual corpses, including one of an actual child there. We get told that, like, the thing, like, just like the bloods, like, I believe we actually ended up following a blood trail to them.
Yep. And yeah, we didn't make it to save them. And yeah, I mean, prior to all this, we've been saving everybody we could, and now we're not. So it's like, what's going on here?
They don't want to be saved. Side note, what I started referring to as Garlean Lo-Fi, the radio broadcast that we would occasionally hear with the kind of like Glory to the Fatherland music playing on it. I just fucking love the aesthetic of that. It really had this whole like Cold War feeling to it that I struggle to describe, but it's like, okay, this is like frozen Siberia, midst of the Cold War. The propaganda is playing on the station, and you don't trust your government, but you trust the other guys even less. Like, it was just a goddamn mood. And that radio broadcast fit into it so well.
And then we end up...
It's those little touches.
Yep. And then we end up finding basically the remnants of the of one of the legions of the Imperial Army.
Yeah. Having formed their own makeshift base in the remains of a subway station.
And then they decide to take the twins captive.
Oh, God, that was such a painful, brutal sequence.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, we're there to try and offer assistance, and again, the Kool-Aid drinking was very, very,
Yeah, I mean, like, is it Quintus or Quintus? I thought it was like an odd pronunciation, but I'm going to say Quintus.
Sure.
Legatus Quintus, so he's the Legatus of the First Legion. He's a believer to the end, not in the sense that, like, he's not tempered, but 100% believes Garlemald is the superior one, that they can handle their own affairs, that even if these misguided savages are coming and thinking they help, no, this is something they're going to reclaim the city. They're going to make sure that the Empire survives. He is ride or die for the Empire to the end.
Yeah.
To the point where, as we're doing what we do and helping out and making friends and learning about others, we're recovering supplies, ceruleum fuel, badly needed for the heaters that will keep the refugees alive at these biting cold temperatures. But as far as Quintus is concerned, even more badly needed for the Magitech armor that will be a key part of re-seizing the capital. Food supplies. Is that for the citizens? No, that's to keep the soldiers fed.
It's kind of scary how much he's trying to make sure to keep things the way they were, because that's what he's always known. I mean, he was probably, he spent his entire life in the military, and he worked his way up in the ranks very fast, and that's why was put in charge of the first, basically one of the most trusted legions in the Garlemald Empire. So
for a quick reminder, the first and the third were the ones that were involved the most in the Garlean Civil War. The third wanting to put Nerva on the throne. The first of believing that no, Nerva had been involved in the assassination of Emperor Varus, and saying that no, this person can never rule.
Yep.
But yeah, it just keeps getting worse and worse. We keep trying to do what we can to help, and in some cases that help is rejected. They're told that, okay, if any of our forces start coming, even if it's like a humanitarian thing, because it's unclear if he doesn't believe that they'd be willing to do a humanitarian thing and so thinks it would be a trap, or if he's just insulted at the idea that they would ever need help from savages, or maybe a bit of both. Whatever it is, it's painful and brutal. And the one bit of peace I found from that was seeing how Alphino and Alice were supporting each other throughout the whole ordeal.
And then when the news that the 10th Legion, who was supposed to be rendezvousing with the first, had been destroyed.
The 10th Legion was a huge part of these plans to re-seize the capital. So once they've been destroyed...
Well, unfortunately, at that point, Quintus is like, okay, guys, that's it.
Yeah.
We're done. It broke him.
Yeah.
He sent everybody off. He dismissed everybody in his service, told them, you're no longer required to, your service is no longer required. Get out of here.
Yeah. Pretty much like, okay, like this is over. This is the end. You're released from your military service. And the sequence was a little on the nose. Invading force approaching, underground bunker, person who preaches about the superiority of one race or another over the others, puts a revolver in his mouth and paints the wall with it. Like the direct parallel there is like that had to be every kind of intentional. And in so many other cases, it would feel like, oh wow, you're just really overdoing it here. But here, it hurt. Not because I thought he was good, but because it felt like such a stupid, sad fucking tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he's a war criminal. Yes, there would have probably been some questions and some things going on, but he also probably could have been useful.
I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily put it that way. This is something that gets explored a bit in the role quests, but you don't necessarily think, oh, that poor person, but you can still think, what a stupid and unnecessary tragedy.
Yeah, it was still selfish.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely 100% was.
So,
but it also was someone who had this dream of the reascendance of Garlemald, that no, the Empire's not dead. We could still save it. We could still preserve this thing that's being broken again and again, and having to finally confront that, no, that's it. It's over.
But the one good thing about it is we do end up bringing a number of the Garlean citizens, some former soldiers. We bring them all back to Broken Glass to take care of them.
With that last bit of resistance broken down, those who the Ilsa party contingent is able to move in, start making its offers of humanitarian aid. Even for those who didn't want to go with them, they were still offering, okay, we'll at least help you get the heaters up and running and you can figure out what it is you're going to do. But we're going to make sure you don't die here and you can figure out where you're going from there.
I mean, it's all they could do in a lot of cases, but, sometimes
pretty much
assistance isn't wanted, but what can you do at that point? Just do what you can, save those who want to be saved, and keep going, I guess. It was very sad, this entire thing. But then we end up coming up with a plan.
Like I just also want to mention, like, I know people have been imagining for a long time, what will it look like when we finally take the fight to Garlemald? And I think people had a lot of, like, really grand invasion and heroic things and military battles, and this wasn't that. This was a country that's already dead and just waiting for someone to put the knife in it.
Yeah, it was
and
not a fight
and in
even.
its death throes, still flailing about and causing more damage and pain. And a batch of people who don't know what their life is going to look like. There's a lot of the side quests in there that involve, like, the people who are involved with cerulean mining, who still need to eat, or not mining, extraction, since it's more oil, but they still need to eat. They still need to keep their houses warm, and trying to figure out what they're going to do without their country anymore. You never get welcomed as liberators. Nation building is so goddamn messy. And I really appreciated that they didn't sugarcoat it, presented all this with the horror that it kind of deserves. The stuff that is happening here is horrifying stuff. You never want it to happen. It is a thing that happens when everything else has failed.
Oh yeah, and then after we get everybody who wants help at the camp, we get them in there, peace kind of starts to permeate, but
yeah,
it's not
like
very much. It doesn't last very long though.
Yeah, I mean, that again ends up being another, in the midst of all this, there is another beautiful moment. You've got the refugees arriving. You've got these people who had been on opposing sides for so long. And in that moment, they're directed to go over and just get a bowl of soup. It's a cold night. No one wants to freeze. And you have these people so long at odds just sitting down, sharing the soup together, not knowing where this is going to lead, not knowing if these will continue to be, but for the moment, they're just people in pain and people trying to help them out and sharing the meal together. And not worrying about anything beyond that. And it's a real. I think the flower did end up gleaming at that, didn't it?
I think so. It's very possible, but
I want to say it was a blue color.
But it was, like I said, it was short-lived because Garlean Lo-Fi turned into something very different at that point. It turned into a scream and a very powerful blast of ethereal energy emanated directly from the tower. And yeah, those who were not tempered are now being tempered. And yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Because of course the Ilsa and Contingent, they've got their warding scales, but so many of those Garleans who had gotten unexpected protection just from their radios are suddenly finding themselves under the thrall of the tempering force in that tower. And as that scene turns to chaos, the world fades out from around us.
Yeah, and we awaken in somewhere else.
Got a lovely banquet going on.
But we look down. These aren't my hands that I'm looking at. What's going on here?
Yeah, they've never shied away from body horror, have they?
No. Basically, I don't know exactly how they got our entire. It's not.
Oh, this is actually something that they mentioned. Remember Stormblood, the Alamigo dungeon, and how we fought against Aulus I can't remember his name, but the chief Magitech scientist?
Yep.
Who it turns out actually did die there. It was very silly of him to take the field. But he had that technology, that attack that knocked us out of our bodies.
But what my point is, I don't remember how our body ended up in the tower.
Oh, probably sent someone to pick it up.
No, they would have noticed at that point. But were we teleported somehow?
I am not sure. Also, it's unclear if they would have noticed given the everything breaking out into chaos with all the Garleans starting to be retempered.
Yeah, well, one way or another. Nick Nar, thank you so much for the resub in the middle of that. Oh, Fandaniel, that's right. Fandaniel took us. That's what he said.
Right.
So,
but yeah, it was definitely something where it's taking advantage of the chaos created by the tempered attack.
And then we awaken in a body of a Garlean soldier, just this random soldier. And we look back and we sit at is it on the throne or just on a big chair?
I'm not sure exactly.
But we look back and Xenos tells us, yeah, there's something you may want to see over there. We look over and it's us. It's our body.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. And then when
such a macabre dinner too.
When his body goes limp and our body stands up.
I think we're just yeah, no, that's fine. We do get a couple additional revelations.
Yeah.
Talking a little bit about the nature of the primal anima within the Imperial Palace. It turned out from Varys's corpse.
That's creepy.
I mean, if you want something that's infused with this idea of all glory to the Empire, long live the Empire, what better to use than the corpse of the goddamn Emperor?
Yeah, I mean, he did believe in the Empire, and basically, yeah, then with everything...
and like, they'd made comments before about how the Garleans believed in their Emperor with almost the fervor that others believed in God. So the leap to Primal wasn't necessarily all that far.
And then the weird bit, and I'm not sure exactly when this revelation came out, but those lo-fi radios that they had were actually protecting some of those people from being tempered.
Mm-hmm.
Was that during this portion of it, or
That was a little bit earlier. That was just something where apparently the etheric interference from it had disrupted Anima's tempering.
yeah? But when
Which is why you had so many people tempered and then random little pockets of people who weren't.
because they were huddled around their radio listening for any news they could glean.
The other major revelation we got from that, or not revelation, but just reestablishing that all of this is because Xenos still really, really wants to fight us. And so he's decided what's necessary is to do something that's going to fill us with so much hatred, with so much desire to him, that we'll be finally willing to fight him. That what he needs to do is inflame our emotions to such a point that we will finally go ahead and give him the fight. All of this is like
He's
there's
just
a
egging us
definite.
on.
He's a creepy stalker. Oh my God! Stop calling. I blocked you. Don't body snatch me.
Fight me. Fight me. I love you.
But yes, as you said, after at the end of all that, we do see Fandaniel performing whatever it is he's doing, and Xenos slumping over as our body springs awake. God, the facial expressions we took on while he was riding around in us. They've got that body horror shit down pat.
I will say the single player instance, the little role playing thing that we get after this, that was tricky.
I made it through the first time, but it was a struggle because this is all the lead up to, again, another amazing set piece where this time we're trying to make our way back to the Camp Broken Glass to warn our friends that no, they should not trust the person wearing our body. But we don't have our powers. We're some random Garlean soldier. We don't even auto-heal anymore.
Yeah, we have to get potions, and we play our own little sneaky game to try and get out of there.
But it's not like a, okay, Thancred, activate your hiding thing. It's a skitter around this thing, wait for them to turn the other way, go over to that one and see if you can get a tank of fuel for the Magitech armor, because that's the only thing with enough firepower to clear out the wave of stuff in front of you. Troops marching all over the place, even in areas you can't necessarily get to, but just to provide that visual thing of nowhere is safe.
Yeah. And all the while you've got a timer ticking across the screen telling you that, hey, you have 30 minutes until Xenos gets to the camp and your friends are going to die.
Yeah. And all sorts of stuff, again, as you're kind of being brought low, having to deal with this desperate situation without any of your power sword. Even meeting up with other Garlean citizens and starting to stage a brave stand against the Magitech and feel like, okay, this is working. Even in this body, we still have this power to bring people together and unite people. And then that damn Magitech armor explodes and you're crawling, dragging yourself along because your legs no longer seem to work.
Yeah, that was
sheer force of fucking will.
There was a lot of panic going on there too.
I absolutely was. A lot of people I know were really upset by it just because, like, it was trying to trigger a particular emotional reaction. And oh my fucking God, did it do it?
Oh yeah, they totally did that. I was like, oh, my first thought when I started crawling across the screen was like, oh crap, I screwed up. Now I'm gonna have to go through this all over again because it took me about 15 minutes to get to that point. And it was a lot of running around trying to find the fuel, trying to find the Magitech, trying to find the key.
Like, I wasn't even thinking about it that way. They was like, okay, I can still move. I can still move. Time's getting low. Little further. Come on, please.
Yeah, and then when it went dim, I'm like, oh shit, I just failed. But no, at that point, then we see us walking up the road towards the camp, and everyone's like, hey, it's the Warrior of Light, yay, he's back.
Yeah, like our friends coming to welcome us. And
he pulls out the weapon. Here, pull your weapon out, and then you see this thing just fly across and knock it out of his hand, and you see us running, and
Yeah,
it's like, made it.
Just this amazing moment of like that thing that was flying. That was us as a Scarlet Soldier with the basic bitch sword that we had, flinging it in a desperate attempt to say, no, you stay the fuck away from them. I am weak and broken right now, and I am still not letting you do this, even if it destroys me. God, my heart was
crazy.
racing through that entire sequence.
But yeah, we at that point, Xenos is like, yeah, this isn't what I wanted here, and he basically nopes out of our body, and
this is not the thing he was looking for. He wants to duel with you. This is not working for getting that. So he's not going to start killing your friends randomly for that. He's not a violent random killer. He has a very specific purpose he's working towards.
which is just really weird, but
yeah, I mean, they get into a bit more of that later on, but yeah, but no, with us there and still not interested in having that fight with him, he goes ahead and just calls it off, which you have to wonder what Fandaniel thinks about this whole thing. But
I'm trying to remember how we get back into our own body again.
I feel like it was vaguely handwave. It's just something where we like get. I know they mentioned that when we do return to our body, that the body we had
it's
been
temporary. That's why the whole thing is it only lasts for so long, and then we get back in.
Got it. And then the body that we were inhabiting became cold and stiff, suggesting that whoever it had been, they had already long departed this mortal coil.
Yep. But it's at that point, once we tell everybody about Anima and everything that we learned in the tower, that we devise a plan to basically draw off some of the people so we can covertly sneak in the back way and infiltrate the tower.
Yeah. This brings us to the Tower of Babel dungeon. Great opening stuff. One of the things that they did also have in a fair amount of the dungeons was that there would often be an earlier section where we had lots of NPC assistance with us. So in the Tower of Babel, it's not just ourself and our three compatriots, but you also have some of the Lisa and Pippin from the Alamigo forces. You have some of the Azim Step folks, Sadu and Magnai.
Yep, it's very reminiscent of Gimlet Dark in that aspect.
Yep. Yeah, and so punching through a lot of those earlier ones, using the train to infiltrate the tower. Lots of FF4 references there again as well. Well, not a lot, but the mini bosses, Barnabas and Luge, that was another one that appeared in the original Tower of Babel. Here reimagined as a Magitech scientist and his experiment.
Which I appreciated those fights.
Yep. The Barnabas one involving a quick bit of comic relief as the good doctor's creation is not really the most intelligent, and the first thing it does is hit him. Also taken from FF4.
But yeah, we fight through the tower and thinking, okay, we're gonna get through this, and then we'll end up.
One thing I want to mention about that tower, after the second boss, when you get to the room where you're taking the elevator up to the top area, if you stop for a moment in that bottom part of the elevator and look around, that is the old throne room. You can still see the remnants of it. And to see just how twisted and mangled it's become, it's like this is the perfect metaphor for the fall of Garlemald.
Yeah, I guess I didn't notice that, but I'll have to notice that. I'll take a look at that next time I go through that dungeon. Yeah, as we climb the tower then, and we go up to the top, thinking, oh yeah, we'll end up, probably clearing out some boss, and then we'll have a trial with Anima. No, we fight Anima.
Oh, right down to the weird dimension thingy with its bottom half.
Yeah, it was It was an interesting fight, but I felt that it was kind of a waste of the use of anima, personally.
Oh. Yeah, like, there are some interesting aspects to it. The fact that anima in Final Fantasy X was made from Seymour's mother, and so here again they're using a parent for it. That it's dealing with all this stuff of, like, pain. But just, like, again, twisted this thing where it's now becoming this kind of darker form around Varys's stuff. Again, like, the child transforming the parent into this thing, but this time rather against his will, and but still as this instrument of subjugation. Like, it was the parallel was interesting. I don't know if I would have preferred it as a trial, but I at least thought, okay, they are doing some interesting stuff with how they're paralleling its original use to how it is here.
It just seems like it was brought in just to bring in an iconic, massive, nasty monster from another Final Fantasy.
Maybe a little bit.
It's kind of forced in there a little bit, but I mean, the fight was fun. It was definitely, there was some interesting mechanics as a part of it, but I was left. It could have been so much more. It really could have. I
was not as impressed with it as I was the Magus Sisters.
Yeah, Magus Sisters was more fun. Whereas, like I said, this was kind of just thrown in there, to say, "Ooh, we have anima in this game."
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say it that way, but I do feel like there was at least a bit of. But regardless of how you feel about it, that's one where, with the defeat of it, in one sense, we have finally defeated the Empire. There is no more Emperor. Even these last remnants are gone. This thing that was acting as this tampering agent, the one trump card they had left, we've put an end to the plans of the Telephoroi. And that's when we get the reports that apparently Anima in its dying throes sent out one last command to its tempered, that if the Empire was going to fall, that everything should fall with it. And the streets below erupt into chaos. You have tempered Garleans setting off explosives, trying to destroy everything they can. Pretty much it turns into this chaotic situation below, while Fandaniel and Xenos make it clear that they are headed upwards, that they're going to be headed to the moon to go ahead and release Zodiark from his fetters. And here's a little something to take care of while we do that.
Well, before they go up there, though, they took all this collected aether. The reason they were collecting all this aether was to create a giant laser to shoot at the moon.
Right. They went to the moon, but they do manage to break several of these seals on Zodiark's prison before being stopped.
But yes, we end up stopping the laser from, completing the complete destruction of something on the moon. We didn't know what it was necessarily at the time, but they tell us that, we'll
Zodiark just go to
is
the moon
up
to
there.
finish the job.
Yeah. So then they go up there, and then we tell the rest of the Scions what's going on, and they're like, "Yep, you better go up to the moon. We'll take care of what's going on down here. We'll take, you do what you can up there."
Oh. And this is where things really started feeling weird. Because, okay, level 82, we're in Garlemald. We're level 83, and we finished the dungeon, and okay, I guess we've liberated Garlemald. Maybe we'll be coming back later because a new threat will emerge from it.
No.
Okay, we're
going to the moon?
We're on the moon.
83.
Okay, maybe we're going to go ahead and explore the moon and learn a bit about what's going on here, and then there'll be something or another that happens such that we have to go back and do all this stuff to prepare for it, but we understand about the threat. And we go and we meet the Watcher, an entity set in place thousands of years ago by Hydaelyn, who has been kind of just monitoring Zodiark's prison this entire time. And who actually even does start on the repair of those wards.
Yep.
We start going out to explore them ourselves, making our way across the lunar surface, aided by the occasional appearance of a very sparkly, oddly braided dog. Seems to have some type of connection to Heidelin. Seems to really, really like us.
Yeah. Very, very friendly puppy.
Yeah. I do love that their text options essentially for the dog wants you to stop petting it and get on with things. Because, dog.
It's a cute dog. It's a very pretty, shiny, golden doggy.
Love dog. Pet dog. Dog is safe.
Puppy!
Dog is not going to break world. Everything is okay with dog.
You're not wrong.
Dog is new mommy. Anyways, a little bit of recovery from trauma later. We do make our way across, eventually reaching the final brand, where Fandaniel and Xenos have arrived. And before our eyes, Xenos cuts it to pieces. Xenos having declared his intention to see Zodiark and use it to provoke us into giving him the fight that he's wanted all this time. But before he gets that chance, Fandaniel takes the dive into the dark.
And basically merges with Zodiark. And
yeah. This is something that we had known that that Elidibus had kind of somehow come forth from Zodiark, and so it seems like Zodiark's sort of like the equivalent of some kind of giant primal mech suit-ish, or at least it needs someone in it acting as... Imagine if Isael could have stepped out from Shiva.
So
he just
Zodiark
got like
is a giant Eva then?
Kinda.
So this is Evangelion now?
Sure, why not? Because, hey, here's this giant thing that's going to end the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so, again, way earlier than it felt like we're supposed to. Level 83 trial, The Dark Inside, where you face off against Zodiark. And again, I thought, okay, we're going to fight him and we're going to temporarily seal him, or we're going to defeat him, but the kind of defeat where at the end something else happens and maybe the true Zodiark sees it, can reassert control or something like that. But no, after a brutal and meme-worthy fight, oh my god, so many memes out of that fight. So many. It's kind of glorious. I expect at least part of this is because Fandaniel's controlling him, and given that Amon is the base, the dude's a fucking giant ham. Everything needs to be massively overacted.
Yeah.
But we defeat Zodiark, as Fandaniel bemoans that we have defeated him, and thus pull together the final part of his plans.
Whereas we're thinking that the Watcher's going to start repairing all of these broken brands and reseal. Nope.
And that's where Zodiark reaches into its chest and yanks out its own heart.
Nice.
Seems nice, but Fandaniel is way too happy about that. And that's where, over the course of next bit, we learn that, hey, remember the entire reason Zodiark got summoned? It's because there was that whole end of days thing going on, and Zodiark changed the laws of the star in order to protect us from it. And Zodiark's gone, and whatever it was that Zodiark did to hold off the final days, he's not doing that anymore.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this is where we get to learn for the first time that maybe something even bigger than what we expected is now starting to take shape. And I think that's where we leave it tonight.
Yes, I think that is a good ending point to this.
But holy crap, level 83 trial, and we've defeated Zodiark. This has happened 5 or 6 levels too early.
Or what I was expecting, at least.
When I was talking with Spender about it, he said, yeah, level 83 was where everyone put their bingo cards in the shredder.
Yeah.
So, way to subvert expectations, you beautiful bastards.
They did an amazing job. I mean, it was
What's
an
that
amazing
doggo?
story.
Zodiac fell down the space well? God, we love you, Chili. And yes, agreed, RC. The moon especially had a lot of those really beautiful vistas, climbing up to the top of the Watcher's Tower and just standing out at the balcony looking over it, having that gorgeous view of the world, which I believe some people have actually gone ahead and taken video captures, so we have like just a thing of the entire world, which means we can also get a bit of a look at the continents. Fun times, that. Mericidia does seem to be an Australia analog, we think. But yes.
All right. Well, so then coming up
next
episode, we're going to talk about the next
because
act, I guess.
Yeah. We're like, we've just found out that some bad stuff is going to go down. We're still up on the moon because there's still more to be done there. That is actually one of the things the Watcher says afterwards. It's pretty much like, okay, this is a time for this. We're not leaving the moon right yet. We can't rush back down and start saving things. There isn't anything to be done yet. There's more to be learned here about about the deeper designs that have been behind this for untold ages. But yes, again, that will be next time.
And on that note, that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, where now you can actually leave us ratings or reviews on Spotify. It's kind of a neat thing. So if possible, where you can, do leave us a rating or review. It helps people find our show and lets us know how we're doing. If you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/Phoenix Star Radio, where we do this show now every other Saturday night. One thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, something that Sarah and I have been discussing, now that his job has very different hours, we're going to try pushing... Go ahead.
I have my Saturdays back. I work Monday to Friday now.
I think at that point, what we're going to try and do is we're going to push the show earlier now. So those of you out on the East Coast don't have to be up so darn late. Those of you that are in other countries can maybe join us at a regular time. So what we're going to try for the next episode is we are going to go live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So 2 hours earlier than normal.
Yeah. Oh my God, Chili. It's 5 a.m. Okay, yeah, we need to move earlier if nothing else for Chili's sake. Maybe we'll consider 5 p.m. our time. We'll start with 6 and see how it goes.
Yeah, so it'll be... Wait, what time did I say? It'll be 6 p.m. my time. No, wait, hold on.
It'll be 8 p.m. your time.
No, I thought we were doing 2 hours.
You know what? We'll go ahead and just post something on the social medias after this.
Yeah, we'll let you know. We're going to be doing it earlier than normal. So it'll be 8 p.m. 2 hours. Let's do 2 hours. So that's what I said. So it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Because I said what I said was 3 hours earlier. So let's do 2 hours. Time zones are confusing. Yes.
I am going to need to remember to put in a pizza order.
Yes. So just remember 2 hours earlier than this week. So this is when we'll be doing our next episode. So hopefully we will catch more of you available to join us live here. But if you do decide to join us live here at twitch.tv/Phoenix Radio, you can subscribe to us and get access to a bunch of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or you can support us out on Patreon, like our benevolent overlord Rory Fenrir, or our shadowy foreign investor Tibby and Salts. You can by visiting patreon.com/Phoenix Radio. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade our equipment. Though today was kind of one of those weird issues, but that wasn't my fault.
Yeah, we're working on it.
You know, maybe if you get us to a certain level, I can afford to bring fiber in. Otherwise, it also lets us do some fun contests and giveaways. But any kind of support, whether it's likes, retweets, donations, subs, whatever it is, it's greatly appreciated because we just love interacting with you guys. If you want to catch up on our backlog of podcasts, you can go out to our website, phoenixstarradio.com. If you have questions, suggestions, or just want to say hi, email us, podcast@phoenixstarradio.com, or hit us up on Twitter at PHXDN Radio. Seyrr, who would you like to shout out this week?
Oh, so I'd like to shout out, as I frequently do, I'm going to shout out Spender, but also Derek and Chris, who together we made several attempts at and finally cleared Zodiac Extreme, as well as the other Extreme. For the first time, I cleared every Extreme available while they were still relevant content.
Extreme!
It was really fun. I mean, for those of you who have thought about doing Extremes, this is not a bad time to do it. Zodiac, if one person messes up, it will not ruin everyone else.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a, okay, we're going to set up, here's a whole bunch of different things. Determine the safe spot on the board and move to there. Which also means find the person who knows all the safe spots, mark them with a thing, and just be good at following. It is surprisingly doable.
Yeah, I mean,
The other extreme is a little bit trickier, but it actually didn't take that long to learn. So I don't know if we've all just been getting better or if they actually are easier, but my thanks to the folks we went with, and encourage you to try the same. It's really, really fun. You can find me on social media on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIVSEYRR, where I post random things that I cooked, hot lore takes that I'm retweeting and arguing from moves, all sorts of other fun stuff like that. And of course, you can always chat with me on our Phoenix Down radio Discord, which Klauss is dropping that link in the chat there. Always love to talk with you guys whenever, any time of day. I work from home and I'm usually paying attention to Discord anyways. What?
hopefully your bosses aren't listening to the show.
They know I get my work done, and they know that I am usually running dungeons in the middle of meetings and still managing to pay attention.
Well, damn.
They're largely fine with this.
I can't do that. But I do want to make sure to shout out everybody who's been continuing to support us. Like I said, I know the last few months there hasn't been as much of us around, and do apologize for that, but we're hoping that now that we've been able to focus on what we need, we'll be able to focus on the things we want moving forward. So we're going to try and get back to the every 2 weeks and get back to that. And hopefully the new time change will be helpful for everybody, and we'll be able to have more of you guys join us and have a really good time with it. So thank you to everybody who is continuing to support us and hang out with us. Shout outs to Nick Nar and Aurori and Tibient for being amazing patrons. Shout out to you, Seyrr, for being extremely helpful in this one. You know how terrible I am at summarizing.
And I mean, that's the other thing. There's a lot going on here. There's tying up of a lot of loose ends. The story goes in a lot of directions. We'll definitely get to some more of the bits of it later on, but this expansion was definitely the most Final Fantasy story expansion. Like, it really felt the most like, okay, this is clearly a Final Fantasy story.
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons why this expansion is being lauded as the best Final Fantasy story told by a lot of different people. So it's really good.
Also, emotionally, it was kind of the thing that a lot of us needed right now.
Yeah. If you want to follow me out on social media, I am at PHXDN_KLAUSS on Twitter. Look forward to maybe some new things coming in the future. I have some interesting plans that I will talk about once they get closer to fruition. So look forward to that. But for my co-host Seyrr Tomono, I am Klauss Nightbreaker, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is a copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.